I never thought my marriage would end over a lottery ticket. For 10 years, Sarah and I had what I thought was a decent marriage. We weren't perfect, but we built a life together. We lived in a modest suburban home, shared bills, and supported each other's dreams. I worked as a middle school teacher, and she ran an online boutique selling handmade jewelry. Then came the jackpot. It was a routine Saturday evening when Sarah ran into the house, screaming at the top of her lungs.
Ethan.
Oh my God. We won. We freaking won. I had no idea what she was talking about at first, but then she shoved a lottery ticket in my face. I squinted at the numbers. Wait, this is the winning ticket? $9 million, baby, she squealed, grabbing me by the arms and shaking me. We're rich. I laughed, hugging her. This is insane. At that moment, I thought the money would change our lives for the better. I imagined paying off our house, maybe buying a second property, and finally taking that vacation to Europe we always talked about. But I was naive. Sarah had other plans. Over the next few weeks, I watched her change before my eyes. She started talking about hiring financial advisors and lawyers, without including me in any discussions. She became distant, secretive, and oddly defensive whenever I asked about how we'd use the money. Then one night, she dropped a bombshell on me. I think we need to separate, she said, crossing her arms. I blinked.
What?
She sighed dramatically. Ethan, I've been thinking a lot and I just don't see us working out anymore. We're different people now. I scoffed. Different? Sarah, we were fine a month ago. I need to find myself, she said, voice dripping with faux sincerity. This money has opened up new possibilities for me, and I don't want to be tied down anymore. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This woman, my wife, was throwing away everything we built together because she won the lottery? And what about me? I asked. Her lips curled into a cruel smirk. You'll land on your feet. You always do. Within days, she had divorce papers ready. But there was one thing she didn't seem to remember. The prenup. Sarah had blindsided me with divorce, and she was handling everything like a business transaction. She wanted me out of our house, out of her life, and out of her new fortune. She wasted no time. Within days, she moved most of her things into a luxury apartment downtown. I came home one afternoon to find half the closet empty, the house eerily silent. No goodbye, no explanations beyond the cold conversation we had days ago, just a legal notice taped to the fridge, informing me that I had 30 days to vacate the premises. It was surreal. One moment, I was celebrating with my wife over an incredible stroke of luck, and the next, I was being tossed aside like an afterthought. But what she didn't realize was that our prenuptial agreement, something she had insisted on years ago, was about to turn the tables on her. Back when we first got married, Sarah's family had pushed for a prenup. They were wealthier than mine, and her parents were terrified that if our marriage failed, I'd somehow try to take her inheritance, which, at the time, was non-existent. I didn't mind signing it because I wasn't marrying her for money, I was in love. However, the prenup had a very specific clause. Any financial windfalls acquired during the marriage would be subject to a 50-50 split upon divorce. She must have forgotten about that part. Sarah, now believing she was an independent millionaire, was already posting pictures on social media from expensive restaurants, bragging about her newfound wealth. She quit her business and started talking about hiring a personal trainer, a life coach, and even a spiritual healer to help her align her energy with her new life. I let her think she had won. I let her gloat. I let her believe I was just some sad, heartbroken fool, struggling to pick up the pieces of my life. Then, when we sat down for the final legal meeting, I asked a simple question. So, Sarah, I said, barely containing my smirk, how do you plan to transfer my $4.5 million? Her face twisted in confusion.
What?
Our prenup, I said, sliding a copy across the table. It clearly states that any financial windfall is split evenly. Since you won the lottery during our marriage, half of that money is legally mine. She snatched the paper and scanned it. I watched as her face drained of color. This can't be right. Oh, it's very right, My lawyer chimed in. And if you refuse to comply, we'll take this to court, where a judge will enforce it and potentially award Ethan even more for emotional damages. Sarah's jaw clenched. You can't do this. I leaned back, savoring the moment. Actually, I can. Sarah fought it. She threw every excuse, every legal loophole, and every dirty trick she could think of at me. She hired an expensive lawyer who tried to argue that the lottery ticket was purchased after we had separated, which was a blatant lie. Unfortunately for her, I had proof, security footage from the gas station showing both of us checking the numbers together the night she won. Then she tried to claim the money was a gift from the universe, separate from marital assets. That argument didn't hold up for even a second in court. Finally, in a desperate move, she attempted to hide some of the winnings by transferring chunks of money to a business partner. But the forensic accountant my lawyer hired uncovered everything. Every shady transfer. Every secret account. Every lie. It was all over. The court ruled in my favor. Not only was I entitled to my half, but because of her attempts to conceal assets, the judge hit her with additional legal fees, on her dime. I could have just taken the money and walked away, but after everything she put me through, I wasn't feeling particularly forgiving. Instead of quietly moving on, I decided to use my newfound fortune in a way that would make Sarah regret every decision she had made. First, I bought something she had always wanted, a luxurious penthouse in the heart of the city. It was her dream home. She had talked about it for years. The spacious open floor plan, the breathtaking skyline views, the rooftop pool, it was everything she had fantasized about. And I moved in. Then, to twist the knife even deeper, I started dating someone Sarah absolutely despised, her old high school rival, Rachel. Sarah hated Rachel. Back in the day, they had been best friends until Rachel got accepted into a prestigious college, while Sarah was left behind. The jealousy had been there for years, bubbling under the surface. And now Rachel was on my arm, living the life Sarah had thrown away. It didn't take long before Sarah lost her mind over it. One evening, as I was sipping champagne on my penthouse balcony, I got a call from the building's front desk. Sir, there's a woman here demanding to see you. She says it's urgent. I didn't even need to ask who it was. I strolled downstairs, just in time to see Sarah arguing with security. Her once pristine designer handbag was now scuffed, her perfectly styled hair slightly disheveled. She wasn't the polished, confident millionaire she had tried to be. She looked desperate. Ethan, she huffed, crossing her arms when she saw me. We need to talk. I smirked. Oh? About what? This isn't fair, she stammered, her voice cracking. You stole my life. I chuckled. I didn't steal anything. You just didn't read the fine print. The security guard stepped in. Sir, should we remove hers? I gave her one last look. The woman who had betrayed me, tossed me aside like I was nothing. And now, she was the one standing outside, begging for an audience. I smiled. Yes. Please escort her out. Sarah's furious shouts echoed through the lobby as security led her out of the building. I stood there, watching her flail and argue, clinging to whatever scraps of control she thought she still had. It was poetic, really. The woman who had once looked down on me, the woman who had won the lottery and thought it meant she could toss me aside, was now standing outside my building, broke, humiliated, and desperate. But I wasn't done yet. While Sarah had been busy spending money like water, I had been smart with mine. I invested, made connections, and built something stable. Meanwhile, she had squandered her fortune on bad investments, unnecessary luxuries, and people who only stuck around as long as she could pay for their attention. Her so-called financial advisor had scammed her out of nearly $1 million. She had bought a luxury car she couldn't afford to maintain. And the spiritual healer she had been obsessed with? Yeah, turns out he disappeared with a hefty chunk of her cash, too. Within a year, Sarah was broke. She called me one night, her number appearing on my phone like a ghost from a past life. I let it go to voicemail. When I finally listened to the message, her voice was small, pleading. Ethan, I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I need help. Please. I didn't call her back. A few months later, I heard she had moved back in with her parents, the same ones who had once insisted on a prenup to protect her. They weren't too happy about the way she had handled things, and I suspected she wouldn't be living there comfortably for long. As for me, I was thriving. The penthouse was just the beginning. I had taken my half of the money and made smart choices. I had real estate investments, stocks, and a steady income stream that ensured I'd never have to worry about money again. And Rachel? We were happy. It wasn't just about revenge. I had found someone who genuinely appreciated me. Someone who saw me as a partner, not a stepping stone. One evening, as I stood on my balcony, looking down at the bustling city below, I thought about everything that had happened. Sarah had won the lottery, but she had lost everything that mattered. And me? I had lost a selfish wife, but gained a life I never could have imagined. In the end, I was the real winner.